Alright, this is going to be a continuation of our work on the Adirondack chair. We've done parts A, B, C, and D for the seat slats. And now we're going to go down, I believe, to E, which is our back slats. So we're going to come down and we'll zoom in on, excuse me. Stay up to speed here. Zoom in on this area. I've got a higher resolution drawing now so that we can actually see the dimensions. So I think the best thing to do here is start with our center slat. And these are all going to be kind of the same size. I'm going to adjust the project a little bit. You can see how these bottoms are kind of slanted a little bit where they tilt out. We're going to square those off once we get them in place. So we're going to start with this first one. I'm just going to draw a line right up the center point and make sure I'm in. Create a new level. We'll call it part E. Make it active. I'll use a thick line style so you can see it. And I'm just going to draw a vertical line straight down. Actually, I didn't really need to do that. Well, yeah, this will work. Let's copy that line over to this point. Just eyeball it. We know that the bottom is 2 1/4 inches, so I'm just going to copy that line 2 1/4 inches over. So we'll type in 2.25. We're going to go up to the top. I just want to get this slope right. So I think maybe the best way to do this would just be to draw a horizontal line up here. From this center point, I'm going to hit O and go over 3.25 divided by 2, and we'll go 3.25. Now we can actually use a 3-point rotation. I'm going to connect this bottom section. We don't need the center line anymore. So our 3-point rotation is just our 3-4 tool. We're going to set it to 3 points. It's actually 4 because our first point identifies the line, and then the second point is the pivot point. And then we're going to go up here. I'll spacebar I. We'll find the existing point, and we'll move it over here to the new point. And as a matter of fact, we can delete this line and then just mirror the left side line over to the right side. And we'll trim these all off. I know that was, apologize for being cumbersome on that. And let's make a shape out of this with our, our 6-3 tool. Set it to automatic. And the spacing in between these doesn't really say. Let's just measure between points, between this point and this point, 0.473. We'll go a 1/2 inch, see how that works. So we're going to take this and we're going to copy it. If it's 2 1/4 inches wide, we're going to copy it 2.75. That adds the 1/2 inch to it. And now you notice at the top it's a little off, so we're going to do a 3-point rotation. The shape from this point to this point, and just bring it over so it lines up roughly there. Now you can see how these would start to tilt down. We're going to copy it again, 2.75. We're going to rotate it, 3 points, identify it, pivot point, top point, just bring it over so it lines up with that one. So it's going to be pretty close. Last one, I'm going to go over 2.75. Oh, hit the wrong thing. 2.75. There we go. Rotate tool. Identify it. Pivot point. Come up here to the top and just swing it over. So now we've got these shapes. What I'm going to do on the bottom is just use this as my starting point. Go all the way across and down. And then at the top, what we're going to do is we're going to put a half circle up here. Left click right on the center point. Hit tilde. We're going to come down and you can see how my arc is starting to match that. When I see something that kind of matches the arc that they have, I'm just going to stop and we'll pull it down 90 degrees. We can take our extend line tool and pull it down 90 degrees on this side. Now we'll take our smart line tool and we'll just connect it. Let's make a shape. This is already a shape down here. So we can now take our Boolean operation. We could do this as an extruded, but we'll do it in 2D. Create a region. We want to find the difference between this shape. I'm going to hold down the control key and I'm going to select all 4 shapes at once. Left click on this shape. It always messes up on me. We'll say keep the original. Just left clicking on one shape. Now I should be able to just delete these original shapes, so we end up with this nice curve on the top. We're going to do the same thing down here at the bottom. Not sure why I can't left click here, 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 and here. Let go of the control key, left click here. For some reason it's taking that out, so I got something messed up. But anyway, we'll do them individually. Keep the original. We have to just do the same thing on this one as we did on the top. We can delete the box on the bottom, and then we'll delete this shape, this shape, this shape. There we go. We basically have these 4 shapes. We're going to take these now and move them outside, and we'll rotate this to an isometric. If we look at the drawing file, which I need to pull up on my figure out, there's one. Edit. There we go. So the back slats are 3/4 of an inch thick, 7 of them total. We'll take our extrude tool, R1, just left click here anywhere, bring those up, 0.75. Alright, so now we're going to rotate these up. Get this is kind of a difficult part, so we're going to rotate these. If I left click on the screen, you can see my compass isn't quite right, so I'm just going to start a smart line, just left click and hit S, so it rotates me to a side view. And now I can do a rotate by 2 points, just left click here and just roll it straight up. See how I can see my AccuDraw line here? Just pull it straight up, left click. Okay. Yeah, although I'm going to undo this because I have another method. We're going to get all our parts drawn first and then we'll start putting it together. I was thinking I might put the back together, but we'll leave that there. Why don't I do the other three? Well, these three will be mirrored over to this side, and I can get the curve of the back on these three and then just mirror them, so it just is going to save some time later on. Let's look at, that was part E. We're going to look at part F. What is part F? Is just a board. Just a straight piece of board, so that one should be pretty easy. And the size of that board on part F is 4 1/4 inches by 20 1/2. So we can actually draw a block. Let's do a part for this. New. I'm going to call it part F. We'll double click it. Make it active. I'll change to a different color. We'll rotate this to an isometric just so we can do it in one. And we said the length of this on part F was going to be 20.5. Oops. The height will be 1 inch, and the width is going to be 4.25. And that's all we need for that piece. That's part F, just a slab of wood. Part G is this back piece of wood. It's right here. It's going to have a 60-degree angle on it. Need to figure out the height of this thing somewhere here. We know that part G is going to be a 1 inch by 2 1/2 inch by 29 inch piece of wood. Let's see where the 29 inch comes from. Probably the front side. If I just start a line right here and go up 29 inches, you can see it goes to that point. So it's going to be beveled back 64 degrees. So I'm in. We need to create a new level. This will be part G. I'll make that active. I'll change my color to something more visible. I'll use this blue, I guess. And we'll start down here on the bottom. We're going to go, part G is 2 1/2, so 2.5, 29. Now we've got an angle we need to put on here. So this is 64 degrees. So I'm going to hit my space bar, puts me into distance angle, and we probably just say 64. Whoops. Hit tab to get into angle, and then 64. There's the angle we want. I'm just going to bring that out and overlap it. We'll bring a line straight up from the bottom, and then we'll just trim these out using our trim tool. Let's make a shape of this. Complex shape, automatic. There it is. We'll bring it over here with our move tool. This location. Go isometric. And we said that was a 1 inch thick piece. So we'll just take our extrusion tool, R1, left click on it, pull it straight up 1 inch. Okay, go to our top view again. That was G. Now part H is this arm. This is the part that there's going to be a little more curves on it. So we'll do this kind of like we did the bottom leg, the first part. Let's create a level. New. This is going to be part H. Double click, make it active. And I'll use this really dark red. And we'll start right here. We're going down a distance of 2 inches. Then we're going over 4.25. Okay? We'll start right here. We're going to go 7.75, 5.25, and we'll go all the way back to this point. Now it said these are 1 3/4 radius, so we're just going to take our fillet tool, which is right here and under 7.9. We want to put those in at 1.75 radius, and we want to say truncate both. What's that mean? It just means it's going to trim them and eliminate any excess line, so it'll erase anything overlapping. Left click here, and then here, and here. Gives us our curve. We can go back to our Bezier curve lines now, which is also down here under solids modeling right here. And we'll just start at this point. Again, we can hit Q to stop our AccuDraw so that we can just kind of gives us a little more freedom to place our lines exactly where we want them. And we'll just extend that out. We'll come over here, let it snap to that point. And we'll do this one down here. Nice long sweeping curves with this tool. Okay. We can turn AccuDraw back on by just clicking on this button up here, the compass that says toggle AccuDraw. Turns our coordinates back on. You can see I'm still in distance angle. I'll just hit my space bar to change that back. And we'll go over here and we'll trim using our 7.4 tool to trim this curve to that curve. Let's make a shape out of it with our 6.3 tool. Again, we're set to automatic, so I just need to left click here, left click anywhere on the screen. You can see how it connects all those endpoints together that are touching. Left click one more time, that creates our shape. We'll move this arm over onto our side piece, hit isometric, and that arm is 1 inch thick. And we'll go to our extrude R1, just left click here, go straight up 1 inch, and there's our arm. Roll it back to a top view. No, that was actually part H is this piece. So let's go, and I'm going to change this part H. I'm just going to rename it part I. And then we'll create a new one, this part H. Just so everything matches, double click it. Part H is the little bracket that's underneath here. I just misread it. And that's this piece right here that supports the arm so it doesn't twist off the support. So it says it's 6.5. We'll start in this corner and we'll go over in part H. Let me change my color here. Let's go back to a green. So we're going to go over here, 7/8, 7/8 of an inch, up 6.5, to the right 2.75, down 1.25, and then again we can do a nice little Bezier curve or a B-spline. I won't even get out of AccuDraw, I'll just move it down. You can see how that just smooths it out. You can see when I get down closer I have to zoom in so that it doesn't trip my AccuDraw. Left click right there. There's our curve. We'll put this together as a shape using the automatic tool, and we'll move this out into the side. This part H, isometric, and we're going to extrude that up. That is 1 inch. So just left click on it, pull it straight up, 1. So we can see now on this arm, I'm going to want to fillet those edges. So we're going to put a 0.25 fillet on those edges, just right there. picks up the curve. I'm going to unselect where it says tangent edges, so just does the top. And we'll spin it around, make sure I got everything. Yeah, looks good. Okay. We're also going to want to fillet these edges on the back slats, just the top edge of them. We're going to fillet those 1/4 inch also. That one. See how they highlight in yellow so that I know which edge I'm picking up. It's just that top edge. Because the flat part, we just want to keep that. Then we'll do the top edge. I'm going to hit select tangent edges so it actually picks up all the way around. Perfect. And we can do the bottoms also. It just leaves those backs flat for attaching to the wood. I think that is, let's look at it in a illustration mode. Ignore the lighting so we can see there's our back slats, our front leg piece, back leg, back support, one leg, one armrest, one armrest bracket, and some seat slats. And I think we're in good shape. I don't think there are any other parts. So we're going to leave these flat so that we can use those to dimension and put them into some sheet files as drawings with dimensions with each level put in there, and I'll show you how to do that later. But what I want to do is actually take this model, and we're going to make a copy of this model. Let's rename 3D model to we'll call it parts model top. No, we don't need it. We'll just say parts model. Okay, and we're going to copy this, and we're going to call this one assembled model. So it makes a duplicate of our drawing. Now we can start putting this stuff together. We're going to make a model assembled in one area, and then we'll keep the parts are separate and laying flat in the other, so we can use those for dimensioning. So we'll go back to our back slats. Actually, let's do the seat first. That one's probably a little bit easier. So I'm going to take this this leg, and I'm going to rotate it using 2 points. So I'm just going to left click right on it. I'm going to hit S for side. So you can see I can just roll it straight up. So I want this leg laying straight. And if we look at a front view, and I probably want to bring those up a little. Well, I'll just turn it to wireframe. So we have part number 1 slat. This is one of the 1 slats. Let's move this leg up so we can see it a little bit better. So I'm going to take my copy tool, and I'm going to copy this right to, see how it finds that center point of that line segment, and then we're just going to rotate this by 2 points and just pull it straight up. So it's laying right on there. Now our second slat that goes in here is a number 2, and that's this middle one right here. So again, we'll take our copy tool, grab this right by a center point, bring it up here, and lay it right on there. Now this one will need to do a 3-point rotation, so let's see how this fits. 3 points. We select the object first, we find the pivot point, we find the start of the pivot, and we roll it up to find the end of the pivot. So there's a little bit of an overlap there. We're going to probably have to move this one up. And I'll just hit N just to leave a little bit of space there. Actually, you know what, leave that one down. Maybe we just need to extend this one down. Let's go down point. We'll go down 1/8 of an inch. 0.125. So we got a little hang down on that edge, which I think is kind of shown on the drawing too. Now the third slat is this third one right over here. This is our third slat. We'll take our copy tool and we're going to grab it right by the center, bring it up, place it right on the center of that line segment, and again we'll do a 3-point rotation. Select the object, find a center point, start of rotation, finish of rotation. You see how that one left a nice little gap there. Okay, now the next one is a number 4, which is this one right down here. So let's take number 4, and this time I'm going to grab it right by the nose. We'll bring it up and I'm going to place it right there, and then we need to rotate this using 3 points from here, pivot point, start point, and just I can hit spacebar N and just let it lay right on top of that curve. We're going to go back now to 5, 6, 7, and 8 are all the same as the first one. So we're going to come up here with this one. We'll use our copy tool. I'm going to find the edge of it, and we'll left and right mouse button right there, hit O, and we'll go a distance of 0.125. And let's get a little more, 0.2. That's better. Now we can bring this straight down, hit the enter key, and hit N for nearest, and let it lock right onto that curve. Now we'll use our 3-point rotation, 3 points, left click, point, 10, spacebar N, and just lock it in there. We can actually take that one and just copy it now to this point, and we'll move it again 0.2 inches, and then we'll move it down, enter N, find the point, and now we'll rotate it with our 3-point rotation, and we'll straight up and hit N. I'm just going to find, see how when you can see how the color changes when you found a point on that line. So we're just laying these slats in line. So that was number, I don't even know, I'm pretty sure we got another one of these now. And we'll move it. I copied it first, 0.2. Straight down, enter, and N for nearest. And now we'll rotate that one up. Pivot point, start point, straight up, and spacebar N. Find that point, lay it right on there. So if I go back and look at my drawing, 5, 6, 7, 8, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, one more, 8. Copy to here, change it to move it 0.2, getting into a rhythm here. Select the object, 3-point rotation, straight up, spacebar N, and let it find that point. The last one is number 9, which is this one right here. We'll grab it right by front edge corner, pull it up, bring it in right there. I'm going to move it a distance of 0.2, and then we'll move it up, spacebar N, right onto this line, and rotate it 3 points, pivot point, first point, spacebar N, And this has got a little bit of a curve to it, so I just want that point to be laying right on there. So there's a little bit of a gap there, but that's fine. Now, let's roll this to an isometric, and we'll notice that, now let's get rid of these old slats that we don't need anymore. You can see that our seat slats are right on the top. I'll roll this to a top view, and what we need to do is copy this leg to the other side. So we're just going to left click on the top edge, go straight up and hit the enter key to lock the axis, and then just bring it over so it locks on the end of your seat slats. We do an isometric now, we can see our seats are on there. Now what I'm going to do is select all of these parts, bring it up to a front view again. Now what I need to do is set this up so this is laying flat. Again, we've got it all selected. Take your 3-point rotation. There's our pivot point. There's our start point. And now I want to pull it down. Now, how do I get it flat? Just hit your V key, because that'll rotate my compass back to the view, and then I get my AccuDraw line. So I can just lay this right in here. So if we look at this now in our isometric view, we can start to see the layout of our seat. We'll look at it in a illustration. There's the layout of our seat. So we got a nice place for our butt to hang out, so to speak. So the next thing we need to do is we need to stand up our back slats. So we're going to take these slats, we'll just select them, and we want to stand those straight up in the air. Rotate, just left click, I'm going to hit S for side. I don't need 3 points, just 2. And then just stand it straight up. See, I can just pull it straight up. When I see that AccuDraw line, I know those are directly straight up. Let's rotate this to a top view now. And there's our back slats. We're going to take our top back piece and we're going to bring it right in here, and that should fit right there on the center point. Let's grab the lower piece right here, and that one's going to find exactly the same point. If we roll this up to a front view now, we start to see that, I'll just move this one down. There's our two pieces, our top and our bottom. If we look at our drawing, I'll just rotate this to a top view so we can see. The bottom slat is up 1.75 inches, and then we've got our 1-inch thickness, and then it's 21.25 inches between the top and the bottom bracket. Okay, so the first one we want to do is up 1.75 inches, front view. So I'm going to take this one all the way down to the bottom. I'll hit enter, all the way to the bottom, and then we're just going to move it up 1.75. I'm going to move this top piece, enter, all the way down, and the distance I believe we said was 21.25. So this needs to move straight up 21.25. Okay, so here's a little tricky part. We're going to go to our top view. We're going to look at this and see, you need to pull this slat forward just a little bit. Let's go to wireframe so we can see it a little better and see how that overlaps. This is going to be laying right in here, so I just want to bring this straight ahead until there'll be a little bit of a gap right behind that. So I want to bring this up until the edge of this just touches the edge of the wood. Next slat, we're going to bring this one forward, hit enter, and just let it touch the front of the wood again. Now this time we need to turn it. So we're going to take our 3-point rotation, find our back slat, there's our pivot point, there's our starting point. We're going to bring it right in. Whoops, it went crooked on me. So how to fix that? I'm going to hit the enter key right here so it stays straight. And now we'll bring it in. You can just kind of eyeball it until it's right on that green line and then just left click. See how that lines it right up on that curve? We'll do this next one. First thing we need to do is move it down. And then do a 3-point rotation. Again, I'll hit the enter key so it locks my axis, doesn't drop me into something I don't want to be in. Bring it out so it's right on the face of this green line. This is our upper portion. And then finally, the last one, bring it straight in. I'll hit enter so it locks it so it doesn't drop it into space somewhere. We'll see how this looks in a second. And then we'll rotate this one. The enter key locks the axis. And we'll bring it right out until it touches that edge. And we roll this up now into our isometric, and we'll actually render it as an illustration. There's our back slats. They're a little bit buried in the bottom, but I think for a model standpoint you can see how they're lined right up there. Now we can take this top view, we can select these three on the left and mirror those, making a copy to the right side. So now when we roll this up to an isometric, we can see all of our slats in place with a nice curve on the back, and they're ready to go into place on the chair. So probably the next thing we can do, we'll kind of leave that back where it is for now, and we'll take this leg that goes on the front and we'll rotate that straight up. I'll use a 2-point method. Hit S for side and just roll it straight up. We'll go to a front view. Actually, probably want to go to a top view. And we'll look at this. In top, you can see 19.5 inches. It's going to go in 3.5, and then it's 19.5. So if we add that up, 23 inches. Okay. So let's move this leg forward. And we'll park it right on this back edge. So we need to move that forward a distance of 23. Roll it to a front view. And we're going to move that up. Actually, we'll turn off some, I don't remember what part numbers these were. We'll just leave it the way it is. Grab it by the bottom, pull it straight up, hit your enter key, and then you can lock it to the bottom of this one. If we go to a top view now, we can mirror that. And again, we'll change this to a horizontal axis, left click here, and just find the center point of one of your seat slats, and now we've got our two uprights. Alright, next thing is our, oh, that's our part B. Okay, got it. Is our back supports. So the first thing we need to do is rotate that so it's standing up. Hit S and bring it straight up. Front edge of that is 3.5 inches off the back, so I'll take my move tool. We'll just move this right over there, and we'll move it forward. T, enter, right there. And we said it was 3.5 inches, so we'll just take this. We're going to move it in this direction, 3.5. There's our location. Bring it up to a top view. And we'll mirror that to the other side. Horizontal axis. Again, we'll just find the center point. Go to isometric. Now we're going to take our back and we're going to select the whole thing together, and we need to rotate that 90 degrees in this direction. We need to roll it to a top view, and we're going to move that right over here temporarily. We'll find the center point, and then we'll move it back. So we can see right here that that should be laying right on the top of that. Ah, my board should be on the inside. That's why. So we'll just take this. We're going to move these inside. See, if I was building it, I would have messed that up, right? Take this and we're going to move, whoops, just the back. Take my move from the center point, hit the enter key, and just find the back edge of that. Now let's pull this up on a front view, and I need to pull this straight up until it's up above. Okay, so now we're going to pull this probably should be touching. Let's change it to a wireframe so we can see a little better. There we go. Okay, so this point right here needs to match up to this point. So we'll move it straight down, hit enter, and lock it right there. Now we need to use our 2-point rotation. Excuse me, 3-point rotation. We're going to find this point, we're going to pull it straight over, hit the enter key so it locks the axis, and then pull it up, and we want to, whoops. We know that is that angle is 64 degrees. Let's just hit tab. 64. That's negative 64. And I don't think that's right. I hate to eyeball it, but I'm just gonna leave it right there for now, and then I'll try it again. Yeah, it keeps wanting to twist it. Tries to snap to something that's in a different Z depth. Now one way to fix that is actually to come down here in this little padlock and select ACS plane snap. Let's see if that fixes it so we can snap right dead on. If I hit spacebar N, come down here and lock it right in. The big trick here is make sure you go back later and turn that ACS plane snap off, or you're going to get in trouble. So, seeing an issue here, but I know what it is. I'm just going to select both of those legs. We're going to take our move tool, hit our enter key, and we want that right on the front. So I moved it 3.5 inches too far. We're going to come right to this one. This is a little bit off. I'm going to turn that plane snap back on again just so it doesn't knock me into. And then we'll just roll that down. Oops. Rotate. We'll see what that looks like. We may need to adjust it a little bit later. Still in our front view. Now let's take our arm. I'm kind of looking at the drawing here at the same time. That arm needs to set right on top here. And I'm going to pull it down. Enter. We'll rotate it to a top view. So this arm needs to go over on the other side. I don't want to scale it, I just want to move it. Front view. That needs to be 2 inches in front, so just we were pretty close anyway. Go to our top view. Whoops, see what it did is it moved it to the front arm. There. And we'll mirror this on a horizontal axis using the center point here. And we'll change to an isometric view. Last thing we have is this little rotate, this little S. And we're going to rotate it. This one should be easy. I want to make sure our plane snap is still off. I want to find the center point right here. We'll bring it over, find the center point that matches right on this piece of wood. Roll it up to a top view. And we'll mirror that to the other side. One of the things we notice with these now is that sometimes the dimensions aren't all what they are cracked up to be. So I just need to pull this arm out a little bit so it overlaps that bracket. We'll call it the wide man seat, made especially for me. And I want this to come back here so it's right about there. It's going to overlap everything anyway. There. Let me just, we're going to roll it back up to an isometric, and and there's our Adirondack chair, and we'll rotate that around. Before I do that, let's select our drawing, and we can delete that. Give it a little perspective, and let's take a look. It looks, you see we got one issue right here where that needs to be out on the face of the wood, so that's probably why it wasn't correct. I'll just go to a top view here, and this needs to be out. Let me take that perspective out of there. So this needs to be right out on the face. That was the problem. So we're going to go right out there. We'll rotate it in. Got to turn on my plane snap. I know it's a pain, but there. Now it'll work. Sometimes sometimes building these this way actually helps you when you get ready to do the construction, because you kind of see all of these little nuances. So now if we look at it as an illustration, we can see our arms in the right position, nothing buried, everything's in place. We won't mess with the nail holes, but we got what looks to be a pretty comfortable chair. We can actually select the whole thing, do a change, and actually change. Let's do this gray color. I don't want to change the level, but then we can actually change the color so we get this chair. So that finishes the model. What we'll do in the next videos, we'll start putting our sheets together and bringing our parts and pieces in. So that takes care of us for today.